I think I became lopsided as a human being, and the music became my only source of balancing. You know, if you've spent 30 years writing music, you've missed a lot of shit. My inspirations for making drum bass come from other places. I think it's important within genres of music for people to be able to look other places, you know, and I don't understand this division and separation. As an artist, you need more than that. I like stuff that's not particularly attached to commercialism. I like stuff that's just working for its own, you know, and because as soon as something's in the mainstream, I'm not really interested in it, I have to say.
Welcome to the Exchange. This is Tom. Today we're going to be talking to Calibre, really important voice in drum and bass, but also house, techno, dubstep, ambient, folk, all kinds of music. We're going to discuss his new album, Tricklemore Sea, and a bunch of other pretty deep topics about creative philosophy and culture. So the first thing I want to ask you was that, like, the music that I probably love the most was music that I initially heard and was a bit like resistant to. So I just wondered, like, whether you liked dance music when you first heard it.
I started listening to dance music, I don't know what, when I was going to clubs, maybe like 96, 97. So it was mostly house and techno that I was going to listen to. And my brother, I remember, brought me drum and bass singles that he bought. And initially I thought, what is this nonsense? You know, I wasn't drawn to it initially. And after a while I started to really get it. And then there was a few releases that made it, okay, this is where I'm at. I really love this. But prior to that, I was sort of interested in DJing, you know, and DJing techno and house. So I guess it's just something I fell in love with when I heard the drum bass after I initially rejected it, you know.
What was it that made you like reject it? Why did it sound different to house and techno?
To me, it sounded like a drum kit falling down the stairs. And I think because of its ingenuity at the time, it was just so unique. It just take a little while to get used to, you know, and find a angle to appreciate. And obviously, when I was listening to it, I wasn't going to clubs, and I couldn't hear it on a sound system. So the main force of it, its importance, was lost on me significantly because I was just listening to it at home.
That's interesting, because I think one of the most beautiful aspects of your music is that it kind of bridges those spaces, at least for me. It's like it has a softness that I think a lot of banging club music could sometimes do with having more of. Do you think that had an impact then, listening to that early at home before you could even see it in that context?
I think when I think about that, I think about Dillinger and Silver Blade. Like, I think Silver Blade's, like, for me, it's one of those tunes that it reaches into both places, you know. It's a headbanger, but it's also like this deep and moving experience, you know. So it's like, without being pretentious, it's like trying to find poetry in a place where it shouldn't exist. So like trying to find some depth, and, you know, because that's what I'm attracted to mostly is the depth of music, because I think it has a memory and it stays around. It has a different treatment of time. So like something that's in it, you know, that you just want to go mental for, it encapsulates a moment. But whenever you're dealing with music that's slightly deeper, it can encapsulate a lifetime, you know?
Yeah, that reminds me of the Devon drum poetry show. It's the poetry and the drum thing together. Yeah, that makes sense, I think. When you first then started making it, if it sounded alien, like a drum kit falling down the stairs, how were you trying to replicate it?
So like I was trying to make music from when I was about 13. And I had a bass guitar and cardboard boxes, my mum's baking trays, and that's why I started. I was really interested in composite, you know, like trying to do everything myself, because I'd played in bands, and I discovered that when I was playing in the bands that I could tune up the guitar for the people. I could change the arrangement, and as a drummer, That's not normally what the drummers were doing. So then I would get the finished recording, and then I would play my own music over it again. And the rest of the band guys, they really liked it. So this was like the first time that I thought, wow, maybe I can do something here. And whenever electronic music came along, I think I went out and bought a synth, and I didn't use a computer, so I would just play everything by hand. So the first release I did, which was Reflections, a track called Reflections, the drums and the tune are just played by hand, they're not sequenced. So it's really, my drumming skills were able to transfer into the first forms of music that I wrote, you know.
I think in terms of like how the music you make like makes you and other people feel, I think when I first heard your music, especially in a club, I kind of always thought of like dance music as this collective euphoria thing, you know, that I kind of was taught from films and stuff, and I imagined when I heard it. But I think your music has this quality where it feels like when it hits, it feels like it's just for me. And I don't know if that kind of personal relationship with the people that are listening to your music, is that something that you think about when you're making it?
I mean, I don't really know what goes on at the retail end of it. I mean, I make music for myself. I've always done that. I could have not made anything with it, and I think I would still, you know, try and make music. It's just something I've always I have to do something creative, or I'll start to lose my mind.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think maybe then on like the quality of your music, like emotionally, I remember I read this interview of Helena Hauff, and she was saying how like music that's like quite uncomplicated in how happy it is and joyful it is, she's like, I've got no interest in that. And I think that even your happiest tunes have a little sort of melancholic twist. I just wonder if you had this similar kind of problem with music that's like really happy, or like if you've ever tried to write something super major scale and stuff.
I don't really like happy music. My experience is not, dude. I don't think that you can just define your life in the music, but you can express your feelings, and there's lots of beautiful things about life. But I think most people's lives are punctuated by trauma and, you know, things that are depression related, or some low key humming experience, like, you know, and I think that's just part of trying to rescue yourself in it all, and, you know, because it's like there's a lot to figure out.
Yeah,
and that part of it I can figure out. You know, I can get to some part of myself where I think, yeah, I like this. So it's like it's just a really basic form of managing how you go through the life, I think. So it's like a medicinal thing for me almost. But like an aesthetic, is definitely something I'm trying to attain. But at the same time, I recognize the importance of tools, and the importance of tunes that are empty and don't have much happening, and don't imply too much. So I also like things that skate around meaning as well. I'm not just exclusively in the deep. So like, I think the blues always are there, but there is some part of my music that has like there's a brainless skank going on there, and I like that too.
Yeah. What is the new record saying at Tricklemore Sea?
I think it's a more refined version of me exploring my vocals and exploring this sort of space, sort of that I can just, I don't know, like, not worry too much about fitting into a club, not worry about putting tunes together for this purpose or that purpose. And it dwells in this sort of bluesy, melancholic space, which I really love. So it's music with sort of memories, and I don't really know how to talk about it in a way. It's when people have asked me, I'm trying to figure it out myself, you know. And the actual title of the album, for instance, Tricklemore Sea, it's basically an abstract, like it comes from me being in Kerry looking at a river flowing into the sea over the rocks, and it really interested me, you know, sitting looking at it. So this idea of, you know, the journey of that river falling into the sea just really felt poetic to me. So there's like a relationship between trying to make all this music and doing all this music for so long, but in the end it just falls into a vast ocean, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you also kind of hinted there at this kind of, you're seeing this thing that's maybe visual and experiential. You can feel the wind and all of that stuff. And then you go away and you make music. You mentioned that you also paint. Are you doing both at the same time? Are you listening to your own demos as you're painting? Like, what's that relationship like?
Well, I mean, this is where the ambient thing comes in. I tend to find if I'm painting, I don't like to be distracted by vocals or something that will take my mind away from it. I like something that has a, you know, like a refrigerator hum with a little bleep once in a while is okay. But stuff that whenever I'm painting or drawing or whatever, there's a real a sense of mindlessness. There's not much thinking going on. I'm just following the lines. And it's the same thing with music. So sort of a lot of these things are, to me, they're all the same things. So that like Tricklemore Sea, the cover is all my artwork as well. So I've tried to combine all those things over the years, you know, and got lots of ways to be creative, which is brilliant for me.
You kind of hinting at this thing, I guess, which like everyone kind of probably read about, hopefully will experience, which is like you're making something and then all of a sudden it's like you're writing something rather than, you're instructing it. I wonder if you've ever had the opposite experience though, where you're like fighting and you ground something out, but then you're actually happy with it in the end. Or is it always the other way for you, where it's like your best work is just kind of like in that state?
I have to say I've written tunes in anger. And sometimes I think cracking up in emotional states is good for creative processes. I wouldn't recommend it, but like that's life, and sometimes it gets you in the right way. You need to get it out. That's nothing too special about that, really. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I think we all have these things. I mean, I feel sorry for people that can't have a form of expression somewhere, like, and I think most people can, but it's just a case of recognizing it.
And I think you mentioned earlier that like you can sometimes just bash out, say 4 or 5 tunes in a day sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in a good place, the average is around 3 or 4 a day. I'm not trying to show off or anything. It's just that's I feel like that's my normal. That's a good, healthy place to be. I think I became lopsided as a human being, and the music became my only source of balancing. And as I've got older, I've realized that. And, you know, I do a little bit of exercise. I have my outside life, and you realize there's some things that, you know, if you've spent 30 years writing music, you've missed a lot of shit, you know, because it's so demanding, especially when you're on the road and you have to attend to the amount of material I have as well. It's pretty confusing. So sometimes when I come back, it's like trying to discombobulate what's going on more than actually trying to figure out the real time, you know. A lot of the time, if you make a lot of music, you have to clean that up, you know, and that means it's a lot of work. So like, yeah, it's pretty demanding. Like you can create your own mess, your own terror, you know, but yeah, music's, you know, it keeps me here. It's weird, catch-22 thing, like where you sort of give yourself to it, but it takes a lot out of you too. Sort of the exchange of all those things and being creative and trying to protect it because it's precious, you know.
There's this interesting relationship, I think, that I've noticed with my friends that are DJs first and maybe producers second, where they obviously go into clubs and they play pretty much only other people's music, and they go home and make music themselves. You mainly just play your own music. I wondered if that means at home you've got a bank of loads of DJ mixes that are just for you.
Yeah, I do. I mix like reggae and ambient mixes for myself, just because when I buy stuff on vinyl, I like to do the mixes and then I can check them, you know. I can listen to music in different places. But generally, if it's my own stuff, I wouldn't listen to my own mixes. I wouldn't do that. I don't know how to describe it. Like even when I make tunes, like up until the moment of release, when it gets accepted in my heart, almost it's like okay, bye. So there's this sort of thing that happens with it. It's still like a tune where I can appreciate a tune I've made or whatever, but it just feels like somehow removed to another place. But like just to mention about writing material, you know, for a DJ set, that's I've I don't know how I ended up doing that because it's really demanding as well, and um, I get I mean, I've got enough material for it, so let's give that a go.
Mm. I wonder then what's going on in your head when you're playing. Like you said, you're kind of living with that mess of your own stuff, and maybe you're also like, oh, I'll test this out. Blah, blah, blah. How do you approach selecting when you're playing mainly your own stuff?
Like years ago, I used to try and plan it because of the amount of material I had was just it's ridiculous. I have to like it's hard to remember all this stuff, and so I guess I reached a certain point where I said, you know what, let's not do that anymore and try and live in the moment. Because it's a fearful experience sometimes. I mean, maybe people love it, but it was never my first thing. I always wanted to be a musician. So DJing was like this thing that came along, and I ended up doing. Like if you listen to my music from Music Concrete, you can tell total absence of DJing because the arrangements are just like, okay, I'm doing that now, and I'm gonna go over here now. So there's no like 16 bar intro and all this. There's no like protocol applied to it because I didn't DJ. But when I started to DJ, then obviously it affects how you make music then, you know. So I think the reason why Tricklemore Sea exists is to remove that type of approach, you know.
I wonder as well, what you just said, I guess reminded me of a different time. And like, I've heard a lot of beautiful myths and stories about music house and cutting dubs and that thing. Did you, I know that you're a part of that as well, right? You used to go there and hang out and stuff.
Yeah, like the first time I went to Music House, I went down there and I could smell the weed. It's like coming from Belfast. It was like wow, and Randall, I met Randall there, and Randall grabbed me in my head and he kissed my forehead, and he told me I was blessed, and that was. I just have this beautiful memory of Randall doing that, you know, and Music House is like this. It's a legendary memory for me because I didn't go there too often, but and I didn't have that very much money, and whenever I did go down there, the guys were already there who were like established in D&B, and that was the shop. The doors were very shut in a way, so like the likes of me coming over there, and I had to wait for everybody else to get their stuff cut or whatever, you know. But it was still a really great experience, and yeah, I feel privileged to have experienced that, you know.
Do you feel like there was something lost when that culture?
Yeah, of course, because it was a community of people where tunes were shared, and it was like a place outside of the record store and the clubs that had its own unique type of sort of excitement for the material and for the music, you know, and it was happening in real time and people were coming and going. It was real like bustle, you know, and like I was very young when I was going there, so it taught me a lot. It was a lot of information for me to take in, you know.
How did you know to go there?
Well, at the time, Hype, I think, had invited us up there, Hype and a few other people, and like I'd already sort of started becoming a part of the scene then with Fabio and all of that, like, so it's a bit murky actually. I ended up there, to be honest.
Yeah. I guess is that like early creative source. Yeah. How did that relationship with Fabio come about?
You know, I guess, you know, for me, I was just so happy to get for people to be into my music, you know, and it was either that or I was working in some crappy job. So I was so ecstatic about it that I just, you know, any chance at all to escape Belfast and get out of Belfast was a magical thing for me. But Fabio, I've always felt like he's very affable, warm personality. I've always had a lot of love for him, and the role that he played in music. I can't but respect it. Yeah.
I think there's like a really interesting line running through what you're talking about as well, like from the early days of your brother bringing the records and hearing them out of the club, and then cutting dubs, and then your relationship with mixing at home and stuff. Has like the record store kind of like remained an important space for you now for that social aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I just love going to record stores anyway, and it's just a collecting vinyl. I think sounds a bit strange, these days in a way. It sort of feels like as if what am I doing this for? But it's like I think there's this cultural element that I'm addicted to, that I really love listening and experiencing music on vinyl. That's the way I've been brought up. That's the way I'm sticking with it. Like, and when I go to places, some places I go to, then people know me or whatever, and it's nice. It's like a musical family.
Yeah. I guess to like go back to music outside of the club, when you are going to some of these spots, I'm assuming you're not going to the D&B section.
Not too much.
Is it ambient, reggae, that kind of thing?
I collect everything. I don't know. It's like hearing your own voice or something like that. And then once you go into a genre so deep, my thoughts are in other places, and my inspirations for making drum bass come from other places. I never really understood why people were so insistent on trying to copy each other, but it does happen subconsciously as well. But the information field is a lot wider for me. I'd like to look at music that's folk music, for instance. I like stuff that's not particularly attached to commercialism. I like stuff that's just working for its own, and even playing an old Irish folk music and playing in folk music myself years ago, I realized that people do it just for the love of the melodies and the notes. There is no superstardom, no money, but it's there, and there's a love for it, and I really like that, and I'm attracted to roots music because of that. It's really important for me to find stuff that's not really, because as soon as something's in the mainstream, I'm not really interested in it, I have to say.
Yeah. I guess also when something gets into the mainstream like that, it's quite hard for the music to be political.
Yeah.
And yeah, what you said about drum and bass just now also reminded me of something that D-Bridge, I think, has been sort of talking about online recently. This sort of like rampant cannibalism in drum and bass, where it's like go somewhere else and come back, rather than sort of looking at your own canon in that way.
Yeah. I think it's important within genres of music for people to be able to look other places, and I don't understand this division and separation too much these days. Years ago, I could sort of understand it a bit more, because you were completely ensconced. That's where you're at. But after a while, as an artist, you need more than that. And because I always made all types of music when I started, I always was very all over the place, and that's why I've been since. And that means I can make things like Tricklemore Sea, and it doesn't really bother me to be over there and to be over there.
Yeah, I guess that's something that I feel like I've heard you talk about before. I can't remember exactly where, but you kind of talked about in the early days still doing your vocals, but kind of maybe hiding it, or like not talking about it as much.
Yeah, so like the first time I did the vocal proper was Deep Every Time, and I destroyed it. I was really drunk when I wrote it, and I destroyed it. At the time, I thought it was shameful. How could you think about doing something like this? I just really enjoyed it, and it occurred to me how unique it was afterwards, regardless of whether you liked the voice or not. But then Fabio told me that somebody wanted to do a remix. I think it was Everything But the Girl. I had been in Swerve and they'd heard it or whatever, and they wanted to remix it. And they asked me, hey, Sarah, Sandy, and Fabio, they asked me, can you remix this? And unfortunately, no, I couldn't. But the vocal thing is really important to me. It's like it's that thing, you know, this cannibalism, as you referred to. This is the little bit where I can move over there and say, no, this is me, you know. And again, it's another sort of layer of put myself into the music and trying to make it sort of draw like influences from indie music and from rock and roll and from reggae and all these things that use vocals like just as normal. But dance music tends not to do that unless it's trying to sell a million records, you know. So I'm totally fine with a little abstract vocal and something, you know, and it's cool. I like, if I didn't have the vocal thing, I think I would be, you know, I wouldn't have the same input or something, like, you know. It has this, just has something that I'm really interested in. Like it's like doing different paintings, and sometimes this painting it'll be a self-portrait, and then over here it's an abstract painting, and over here it's a landscape. You know, but all these things can come out of your head, you know. And so this is occurring to me very early on with art. So it's the same thing.
It's also literally your voice, right? There's that mirror there with your voice and your voice.
Yeah, and with my vocal as well, I've discovered that I can sing high. Like I've got a good falsetto, so I can really maintain notes up there. So it's sort of interesting to me, just because I'd used vocals in my music for a long time, but here I could use my own vocal, and I've got my own ideas, and I can say things that I want. And I was never too explicit about messages or political stuff, but it's definitely political messages in there, and, you know, some context of the life.
Yeah. When you're like literally composing the lyrics and writing them, how does that, obviously it's probably different every time, but are you keeping a journal?
There's a lot of different ways that I do it. I can do it just improvised and the collage technique. Sometimes I record it, sometimes I premeditate it, but it's totally an open game. That's what I really love about it. And I can put in just like an and that's enough, or I can have a full song and chorus, you know, verse and chorus type of experience. So all those things are interesting to me, and being able to make an abstract type of vocal in drum bass is not something that a lot of people would be trying to do, you know, it's particularly from producers' angle. So it's just another avenue to explore.
As a drum and bass fan, one of my favorite periods is the early autonomic period. And I think just what you were saying, you know, the strip back the space, writing vocals, don't want to bring everything back to D-Bridge, but, you know, that instrumental crew, I felt like really had that same energy, albeit with a different sonic world. Were you like into that at the time? Were you inspired by it? Or were you also just like, okay, cool, I'm also doing something similar in my own lane?
I'm a wee bit head in the sand. I don't really know what other people are doing in D&B. Sometimes I'd have an idea of it. I knew that they were doing music, but if you played me stuff, I'd be like, oh, it'll be new to me the first time probably. But I'm so involved in my own thing, narcissistically plying away. Yeah, it's a bit, I have to tell myself off for that a little bit. I should know more about this, shouldn't I?
I don't think so. It probably gives you that secret sauce thing, I guess. I mean, when you're DJing, again, like, how often are you pulling for other music in that case? Like,
not very often. Like, maybe if I have like 3 hours, I'll play maybe 1 or 2 tunes, somebody else. And there's only a few guys that I like. And the reason why I like them is because it's them. And they don't sound like other people. It's like very unique thing to me. They're the OGs at what they're doing, and that's the stuff I like. I mean, a lot of it fits in to what I do as well. Like, can fit in, but I think my stuff's quite unique as well. So when you've got like hours of my stuff chucked together and you stick something else in, then it's like, ooh. So sometimes you have to pick the right stuff, you know.
Yeah. There's a producer, I think you also are a fan of him, called Klaus.
Yeah.
And involved with Tandem Sound System and other things that I am in awe of. And I remember hearing you talk about one of his ambient tunes, and I find that interesting because obviously that is newer music, and so you're pulling for somebody else's music, but in this entirely different context again, right? It's not just straight up drum and bass.
I first heard his stuff from Torsten from Hardwax. He gave me a 12 to listen to years ago. He just told me to check it out, and it's really quite it's like a very, very unique thing where it's ambient music, but it's got bass in it, and it can operate in that space, where it's club music, where a lot of ambient music you just don't want to play it in a club because it's tonally, it just turns into a drone. It's hard to get detail with ambient music sometimes in clubs, and with Klaus's stuff, it's really beautiful for transitional sets, so you can go from tempo to other tempos. So I started to use Klaus's stuff like that, it's really helping me out for when I go into different tempos, playing 120, 140, 170, whatever, so, and he's a really lovely person as well. I like him. Not too much trying to bang the drum, and just getting on with it and doing his thing.
I guess from a fan and a dancer's point of view, if I was going to come see you, I kind of like would expect you to be unexpected in a way. And I wonder if you ever come to a party or a particular night willfully trying to kind of do something a bit strange or unusual.
Not really, because I'm living in fear. I want it to go okay. Like I said, I find DJing a fearful experience. I'm not a natural entertainer, so I really have to draw from my bravery reserves. So like my thoughts about DJing are just pretty much, hopefully I can mix okay, hopefully the sound's good, and hopefully the people are nice, hopefully the crowd are okay. But whenever I'm presenting the work, it's just whatever automated guy in the background's controlling me. Like that's how it's gonna go. Like sometimes when I play music, it's like I'm watching myself. So a little bit of that comes into DJing too. It feels like it's not me. I'm just sort of watching a version of myself, and it's sort of weird.
What you just said in terms of that fear thing, if I have a DJ, I also feel very anxious. And there's this thing in drum and bass and jungle specifically where I think people are always discussing MCs. But I think one of the beautiful things about the MC on stage is that you're kind of in it together. And I wonder if that helps with that feeling too.
Yeah, it can really help sometimes. I think it's a totally different energy whenever there's an MC there. And I tend to work with SPMC or DRS. So I'm blessed with two of the best guys in the business, so there's a little bit autopilot there. It's like there's two performances in one, and you can sort of relax a little bit and hide a bit more because the focus is on MC. But it's not something I value too highly, I have to say. Like I wouldn't use MCs for hiding, because sometimes I'm like, I remember I went and asked Stu about a last tune recently, and he says, "Fuck off, mate, you're the one getting paid." So like, yeah, the MCs can be for all types of purposes other than chatting on a mic.
Yeah, I guess as to return a little bit to what you were talking about in terms of sort of your base level of production and stuff, I wonder if there are periods where you're not going to be making music and you know it, and that's fine, and how you deal with like maybe a dry spell or like intentionally not making music.
Well, for the last 2 months I haven't, and that sort of feels really weird. I think it's the longest time I've spent without writing music for 30 years.
2 months.
2 months, yeah. So like I've been away in Belfast trying to fix up a house to make it so you could live there and have electricity and stuff like that. So yeah, it does happen. I mean, I remember reading Charles Bukowski years ago, and because he was very prolific and I would see some commonality, I like this prolific approach to something, and he would say you have to stop doing what you're doing and start at the ceiling for a few weeks, and So I sort of do that on a regular basis, where everything gets shut down, and I don't write music, and it's for that purpose. I need to stop it, and it has its own rhythm as well. Like you can't guarantee when you turn the tap on, the water's going to come out. Like so, even when you put time aside for it, it's a bit of a slippery customer.
Do you think that then the period where you come back from one of these like periods where you're maybe fixing up a house, are you ever of the mindset where you're like adversarial with yourself? Because if you're not listening to other people in the scene as much, is it like I want to make a better record than the last one before? Or is it like that not even part of your psychology?
No, I mean, there's things where I can learn. It's always when I look at stuff, I think, oh God, I could get that better, and that could be a lot better. There's lots of that going on as well, but it's just a normal thing for me. I've been doing it for so long, I don't really think about it too much. I mean, I think that's the reason why I like it, because it does remove all the worries and the anxiety and stuff in my life, and I feel like it's really good medicine for that. It has anything creative, like it's really good for that, man. It's like meditation without meditating.
Mm. You meditate frequently?
No, I can't. I tried it. My mind won't let me. It's like a circus going on there, man. I'm sure there's somebody who could make me meditate though.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in that sense, like music and painting and all of it being meditation, that's probably the way of channeling that.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me. These are the same things when I'm making music. I'm not really too focused on getting it from this place. It just seems to just happen, luckily.
Yeah. There's one aspect of Tricklemore Sea, I think I'm right, there's like one tune on there that seems like an alternative version of the album you put out in December. I can't remember the name of it now, but there's like a
They Want You.
Yes. Which way around were they made in that?
I mean, Tricklemore Sea's probably been collated for longer. Because drum and bass is like, it's just gargantuan amount of material. So at a certain time, it tends to pick itself. I just have to wait for the moment where the thing's full, and then it's like, okay, let a few go now. But with Tricklemore Sea, it's a little bit more, not that I premeditate the actual process, but the collection period is longer, because there's a lot of stuff for me that I'm not familiar with in the way that the world that it lives in, because I'm not there all the time. So there's more bit more careful approach to how that goes. But with drum and bass, it's more like, that's there, let's go.
Yeah. And then when obviously you say that you got quite a fast, like you're making music quickly. Are you sequencing records much more slowly when you're thinking about like a full length album? Are you like, okay, well, this one?
It's a strange thing. No, actually, I don't. Because like music, because I put out music that's now, but I made 15 years ago. Like Little Foot, for instance, which came out earlier last year, which was, some of the music on there was 20 years old. But it seemed to like fit in to now a bit more than when I made it. I just was like, what is this? Basses and weird beats. So whenever like dubstep developed a bit more and the 140 thing came into it, then it made sense then, So sometimes it's like the world need to wrap around you to make your own stuff make sense,
Yeah. With the dubstep world,
any of it, like, and with drum and bass, I mean, it has its trajectory for me, and it has this like this historical element that I can always sort of look at or whatever. But with other types of music that I'm making, it's not the same thing, obviously. It's a little bit more different approach.
I guess we talked about like the idea of music making relating to your own experiences, and some of those experiences aren't always good. Does your music reflect how you feel in the moment? or is it something that you're doing almost like therapeutically? Is it both?
It's primarily a therapeutic thing to keep me sane. That's the truth. I think I've managed my life with music. So it's like this psychologist in the background and a place where I can go and talk to and try and get my thoughts across, you know? So it's like the delivery point for music, sometimes how people can interpret it, they can find part of their own experiences there too, you know, because we're all, like I said, we all have these you know, things in life where you struggle with, and everybody does, you know. And happy music to me, I don't have any function for that, like, you know, unless I'm, you know, shooting something on a computer screen or something like that, you know. It doesn't really sit with me. Like, I want to be able to explore my own sensations of living. So like, the deeper the music, the more somehow it gets to my strings, man, you know. Like, it's a hard thing to explain in words, you know. I'd like to think that it has that sensation of like the melancholy that's implied, that it's there for reason, you know, and people know that and they understand that.
It reminds me of the thing you said earlier about the Everything But the Girl remix and that process. And I could be wrong now, but for a while, obviously, you were known for not having ever had someone remix your music. Do you think those two things are related? That like personal sense of melancholia in the music, and then almost giving that to someone else feels wrong?
Do you know something? I never thought about that too much. It just so happened that after a long time, nobody had remixed my work, and then I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to keep it like that. So it sort of just came about by accident, really. And I think that first request was the last request for a long time. So when it became like that, it was sort of like it presents itself as some like a tool to use or something, like in the same way that being a part of the void is also something, you know. And that's how I view it. I like to work the void. So the absence of me, almost, it seems to work, and it's worked for years. So that's why I don't have the social networking type of thing, and I'm very simplistic, really, as a person.
How does that manifest then when you're remixing somebody else?
I love doing remixes for other people because it's less work. Somebody's already done the work for me. But like, you know, obviously Mark Anestis was the first guy that did a remix, and I think to myself, who else? You know, that's the perfect person to do a remix for the first time, you know? So I think I got that right.
Yeah. I know we talked about it already, but can you just, tell me how that came about? How did you meet Mark? And
it's a strange one, that one. So the guy, my manager, Chris Parkinson, he has a very long history and legacy in electronic music. He used to work for Rising High Records and work for Casper Pound. So for me, I was already interested in his whole thing, like what's he been doing. So he works with audio people as well, like designing stuff and trying to sell stuff. And so we got into contact with Michael Zahl, and Chris was working with Michael Zahl, who had worked with Connie Plank. It's really like a massive figure in German music. And I think from working with these guys, he had the idea to build his own stuff. And I think when he met Mark Anestis, they had the idea to make this AM1 console, which I have one of those myself. So I think Chris and Mark started talking from the point of technicalities. And of course, Mark, because he was involved in Record Store and Hardwax, knew who I was, and I was allowed in. But yeah, he's really magical character, Mark. You know, it's a real inspiration for me because music industry is full of dickheads and idiots, whatever, you know, and you have to filter through all of that sometimes. And when you meet people like Mark, who are successful and their duty to their work is really, it's really impressive. And yeah, I can't say anything wrong with his approach, whatever, you know. He's a brilliant guy, and um, yeah, I just think any 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 type of attachment with Mark's brilliant for me because I love him so much, and his music had so much effect years ago. I still think King of My Empire is one of my favorite tunes of all time. Um, just a magical person in music that we need to have people like Mark as well, because people can look at somebody like that and go, "That's the way that you should be," and this is where your focus should be. It shouldn't be on the bright lights and the bullshit, you know?
Yeah. And so saying all of that, you know, your love for Mark and how much you appreciate his work, did you ask, hey, do you want to have a stab at this? Or
Yeah, we got round to that. He was quite shifty about it at first, but he eventually told us that he was going to do it, and I think he did about three versions in the end. Um, yeah, I still play those, and yeah, what a privilege